Good morning, Greene County.
Good morning.
Thank you all for joining us today. We're going to present. Oh, I'm supposed to stand behind the podium so the mic picks me up. You know, I'm a walker and a talker, so I don't know how well that's going to work, but we'll try. And my team can correct me if I stray too far. We're here to do an annual update for CERF. Many of you may know that I am currently serving on the CERF board. It's actually an exciting board. Now you're going to go, oh, how can numbers be exciting? Well, it really is because what we're doing is we're out to protect your investment, okay, your retirement. Okay? We're making decisions on your behalf. Okay. Another interesting fact is by serving on a government pension plan or retirement plan, I'm required to do continuing education. Woo! As if I don't get enough continuing education being a CPA. But it's all really valuable information in how you manage a public pension and how you make decisions about a public pension. So we have our annual conference in July of every year. And it's 3 days, well, actually 2.5 full days. And one of the other interesting parts is that all retirement plans in Missouri are in the room, whether it's Mosier's, loggers, sheriff retirement, whatever it might be, they're all in the room as well. So you have good dialogue and conversations with the group as a whole. What I try to do every year after that annual conference is to come back and share the information that we gather at the conference so that I'm sharing what I'm learning and then we can stay up with CERF. So, many of you know that a CERF for Greene County is a second retirement plan. And we are also a loggers-based county. And so we have the benefit of having two plans. Some of you in the legislature back in 1994 may remember this legislation because there were counties in Missouri that did not elect to participate in loggers, and those counties had no retirement. Okay. So this was the legislature's solution for having retirement in all counties, whether you were a loggers county or not. So Greene County was one of the fortunate counties that were loggers, and so we got the benefit of this fund as well. Okay. The CERF balance as of the end of the calendar year is 817 million, and that's up 48 million from the previous year. Okay. Since the inception of the fund, 1994, the annualized growth has been 8.66%. Okay. We're currently 80% funded. Would we like to be 90%? Absolutely. Would we love to be 100%? Yes, we would, but we're not quite there yet. 1994, this is relatively considered a newer fund. It's not as old as some funds that have been around the state for a very long time, including loggers. So we're as still a fairly new fund. 80% funded is a very positive thing. We're going to talk about some things that might impact that percentage here later in the presentation. Okay. Like many funds and like many of you, we experienced some negative growth in 2022. Okay. So we're not going to shy away from that. What our goal was that we recover from that. Okay. We sustain that. I think you would appreciate that the CERF board members, and they're represented by every county association as a member on that board. I represent the Auditors Association. We take our job very seriously. And with that, um, we know that we can't just ebb and flow with all the market things that might be ebbing and flowing during any economic time. What we try to do is choose investments that are for the long run. Okay. We're not really choosing investment for a quick fix or a short term gain for a short term loss. We're looking at things that will be long term to the benefit of our members. Okay. So we know that in 2022, following COVID and the challenges that were faced there, that it was going to take a bit of time to recover. Okay. 2023 did a really nice job of that. And then we've continued with 2024 being positive. And our financial reports through 2025 have also been really positive. So you can see that, but for 2022, 19, 20, and 21 were strong. 23, 24, and 25 have recovered. Okay. So that's what we mean when long term. These are long term investments. Okay. Here's the snapshot of our investment returns during that period. You can see the 1 year return was really positive again for 2024. And then you can see that ratio of the 3 year, 5 year, 10 year return. And then since that inception date in 1994 that we referred to. So we were slightly above for 2024 that annualized rate over the lifetime rate. There's a lot of talk about, market volatility, and there's been some action in the state legislature about market volatility. Thus far, we've not been impacted by anything that would challenge us in that area. We choose our investment advisors very carefully. It's quite a lengthy interview process, and we rely on their expertise. Um, I'm fortunate that I have a background in finance and accounting. And so for me, it's a natural progression on this board, but not all members have that luxury. So relying on the experts is really important to us. Okay. Many of you know about the CERF savings plan. Okay. If you don't, let's learn about it. Okay. Our CERF savings plan is currently administered by Empower. Okay. And we have a representative, Ben Harris, who represents our accounts for Greene County. Ben comes to Springfield a couple, 3 times a year. We schedule meetings with him. You're welcome to sit down with him so you can meet him in person and talk to him in person. Or you can always communicate with him on the phone or through email. But I guess the important thing is that if you are a CERF savings plan member, in other words, you contribute to the savings plan in addition to the 4%, then it's important to review that plan on occasion, like you would any investments that you might hold. Okay. So he's available and we can make sure you have his contact information. The PowerPoint will be posted on our website. So you'll see the link to their website. And there's a lot of tools out there that you can learn about investing. There's some retirement estimate tools that you can use. So there's a number of different things that are out on the website that might be helpful to you. So this slide is CERF by the numbers. Okay. So many of you know that you need 8 years of service to be vested in CERF. Now, if you perhaps don't fulfill the 8 years of service, the dollars that you contributed is yours. Okay. So if you don't meet the 8 year requirement for vesting, then that money gets returned to you. Okay. Um, Full benefits can be paid out at age 62 as long as you are not fully employed by a CERF county or a CERF jurisdiction. You can elect early benefits. And I probably is anyone from payroll in the room? I'm not sure how many people actually elect early benefits. CERF currently has over 12,000 active participants and 7,000 checks are submitted each month. Okay. At the average payout currently is $629. Okay. Again, that's average across those 12,000. That doesn't mean that'd be what your payout would be or anything like that. If you are nearing retirement, then a consultation with Ben would be important or CERF to discuss what your payout would be. Okay. In 2024, CERF paid out about, excuse me, $50 million in retirement benefits. Okay. Now, the challenge becomes the amount that CERF distributes each year is about 8%. Okay. And if you notice from the previous slide, the lifetime earnings is 8.66. Okay. So right now, we're above what our annual distribution is. But it's close enough that we have to really protect that. Okay. We have to really protect what those dollars are on your behalf. Okay. So the statute requires that an annual COLA can be given. Okay. And that is 1% or consumer price index, whichever is lowest. Okay. And at our March board meeting, we elected to authorize a 1% COLA for retirees. Okay. Okay. You know, this is my favorite slide. It's a picture. It tells a story, right? Okay. So when you're looking at that picture, the one thing that might be surprising is that the amount of employee contributions, the amount of employee contributions is the smallest piece of the pie. Okay. County fees is second, but the biggest piece of the pie is that investment return, that investment revenue. Okay. So that's why that CERF board and those board members are so important. We're protecting that number right there, that investment return, that investment revenue. Okay. So when you think about the 4% that an employee will be benefiting from their own retirement, it's really made up of only 18% of what that total retirement would be in the end. Okay. We're going to talk a little bit about the county fees here in a minute. And we've got a couple people in the room that are very familiar with the CERF county fees. County fees are collected by the recorder and the collector on documents that they process or delinquent tax fees that they collect. Okay. On the collector side, that is going to be based on property tax. Okay. So what happens in the wonderful wisdom of our state legislature if property tax goes away, what are we going to base our county fees on? And county fees, oops, go the wrong way. County fees represented 38% of the fund. We lose that. So there's a lot of ramifications if property tax goes away completely. I know it sounds great when somebody tells you, hey, I don't have to pay tax on my property anymore. Hey, I already own it. Why should I pay property tax? I know that's really popular. Unfortunately, the ramifications are broader than just that simple statement. And CERF is only one sliver, one small sliver of that. But it's highly impactful to that one fund, when it's representing 38%. Okay. So be cautious when you hear some of that. Take that with a grain of salt. Ask questions, ask follow-up questions, because there's some repercussions that probably is not going to be positive, and that's just in this small world. Okay. And again, there continues to be potential legislation that can impact the CERF fund. We spend quite a bit of our time as a board member trying to find other sources of funding. And again, members of the prior legislatures that's in the room, that's not always easy. That's easier said than done, because there's not an opportunity to attach a fee to something else or to increase fees on something that's already there. So it's constantly front of mind that the board is looking at. The matching contribution, okay? So those of you that are taking advantage of the CERF savings plan, there's a matching component, okay? And so once a year, CERF pays out into your fund, directly from the CERF funds to your fund, that matching component, okay? Currently, that matching component is the same as it was for 2024. We adopted the same matching component for 2025. Okay, so with that boo, I actually made the motion. And would you like to hear why I made the motion? Okay. Because we're still only 80% funded. Okay. And we need to elevate that. As an example, in loggers, on the general side, that's not law enforcement, on the general side, we are at 100% funded. Greene County, okay? Every county or every logger's jurisdiction has their own ratio, but Greene County currently is 100% funded on the general side. Law enforcement is in the 90 percentile, still good. So in order to get there, Kevin, we have to be able to make the decisions that, although maybe somewhat painful, is for the benefit of all. Okay. So do we take those decisions lightly? No, we do not. But we have to look beyond today and into the future the best that we can. And our actuarial who made the presentation that day also recommended staying at the current level. That doesn't mean we wouldn't inch up to the next, the cap at some point in the future. But we felt like we need to have a couple of years at this rate in order to have full recovery. And I know nobody likes it, especially those that are maxing out at their matching, But again, would we rather have a percentage of something versus a percentage of nothing. And so we need to make sure the fund itself is strong as a whole. I ran Greene County by the numbers as of the Friday's payroll, and interesting enough, and I hadn't looked at these numbers since last year, but the CERF 457 Roth, okay? Some of you may know that Roth is after tax, where the 457 savings is before tax, okay? So are you deferring tax or are you paying tax now, okay? Effective with Secure 2.0, which went into effect in 2024, it required plans to have a Roth component or a post-tax, okay? Your Roth, you're paying tax now, and you can invest, and your earnings and everything in that fund then are tax-free when you take it out because you paid tax up front, okay? The number of employees contributing to the Roth tripled since this report last year. The investment to date in that fund is sixfold. So once everybody got educated on that, we had quite a few people jump into Roth.
That's my question is, do we have such a higher number of pre-tax because we've lacked in our education and letting employees know about the great benefits of the Roth?
Okay, so the question is, most of our numbers are in the pre-tax and lesser numbers in the post-tax. And is that because we've not educated our employee base? I think it's probably a combination of both. One, the Roth or post-tax just went into effect last year. Okay. So in 2024, we had a few early adopters in our county. And then once, and I think we did this presentation a year ago, and I think some people then got better educated about what the Roth would do. There's no right or wrong answer. Okay. So if I put my CPA hat on, it depends on your situation. Now, a few years ago, and I've been in it a while, a few years ago, you really wanted people to be in a pre tax environment. You need to save taxes today because when you retire, you're going to earn less. You're going to be on Social Security, you're going to earn less. So it needs to be pre tax because if you're going to earn less, you're going to have a lower tax base, right? Well, things have shifted for some in that some people can retire, and because of the way they've restructured and structured their retirement, they can retire with about what they made as they were working. Okay, so we've lost some of that value in avoiding tax now to defer it later, because deferring it later, one, we're still at the same tax rate theoretically, or the tax rates can change. Has anybody seen the tax rates change before?
They never go down.
They rarely go down. Okay, so do you pay tax on what you know today, the rate you know today, or do you look to the future and say the rates are going to be lower, so I'm going to defer it? Now, again, there is not one size fits all. There's not advice that will fit you, everyone in this room. Okay. So if you do have questions on whether a pre-tax or a post-tax benefit might be best for your situation, contact your tax accountant or your tax preparer, or I would be happy to help consult with you individually, because there is no one size fits all. But what I did notice is we had a lot more individuals select the post-tax in this calendar year versus the previous year, and the amount they contributed increased considerably. Yes,
I
Donna.
was just saying, it might be also beneficial education that there's no RMD on the Roth side, where you're gonna hit a wall on the pre-tax side, right, where you have to take that money out and pay taxes on it.
Well, you're going to have a required minimum distribution regardless.
So,
Yes. And so one of the things that you need to consider in a required minimum distribution is the calculation that goes behind it based on your life expectancy and or the joint life expectancy of you and your spouse. Then in addition to that, there's one of the tools that I often advise on is if you don't need that required minimum distribution to survive, you really are fine on your retirement income, but now you've reached the age where you have to have minimum distributions. You can direct the distribution to go directly to a nonprofit or charity of your choice directly. And by doing that, you don't pay tax on it and you get the benefit of that donation or contribution. So if you are making contributions to a favorite charity, organization of faith, or whatever you might be choosing, if you're already doing that, my goodness, if you've got a required minimum distribution, have that directly go to that nonprofit because you kill two birds with one stone then right there. So that's really beneficial for folks to take that under consideration as an option. Okay, not for everybody. Yes, Bob.
I should know the answer to this, but can you do both of those?
Okay, so Bob's asking if you could do both. Can you do the pre-tax and the post-tax? And yes, you can. And we have some folks that are doing both pre-tax and post-tax at the same time.
Then I had another question. On the previous slide, can you explain the difference between the 4 and the 6 that you matched the numbers?
Yes. Okay, so on the previous slide, right now there's a match of 50 cents up to 4% of your annual earnings. Okay. So if you're contributing the max of 6%, then 50 cents on 4% is going to be matched. Was that the question?
So I think I know what the issue is, but just for clarification, the board action that you were talking about is what's referenced between that and the lower number there on your fourth dot where it says state law caps that at 50 cents for each dollar up to the first 6%.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. So thank you for that clarification. So the board acted that we are not at the state law cap. We're but currently below that. That's what Kevin was booing about, that we were.
I just wanted to clarify the numbers for anybody watching.
Yes, yes. So that was a great question. So that's exactly what that's doing.
Do these have a $7,000 per year max like a regular Roth IRA would have?
Yes. The max contribution is still in effect for whatever your max would be. Yes.
So if you're in both, are they both matched?
No. Well, yes, they're both matched up to the max and up to the cap.
So 6% in the Roth and 6% in the pre-tax?
Well, right now it's up to 4%, 50% on 4%. But they look at that in total, okay, and then they allocate it between the two funds. Does that make sense? Am I making sense on that?
You don't get to double dip.
You don't get to double dip, but you can take the totality of it. We've got some rebels in the room this morning. Yeah, great questions. I know we're running a little short on time. Do we have other questions? Let me see if I had any other content. We did county by the numbers. Oh, there's a asset performance report that is posted on the CERF website if you're so inclined and really want to look at where that money is and how it's invested. That's a really good report to look at, see how the assets are performing. Okay. And it's available on the website for anybody who wants to go out there. And again, this presentation will be posted on the county website, so you'll have that information also. Okay. Yes.
Not a question, but can you remind, so people that are watching the video or maybe online, what department handles retirement in?
I'd be happy to. Thank you for the question. The question was, if you have questions about retirement plans here at Greene County, okay? Those questions should be directed to the county clerk and the payroll staff at the county clerk's office. As of note, there's a separation of duties between what the HR department does and what the county clerk and the payroll staff does there. So the retirement piece of that is with payroll. Okay, so if you do have questions or follow-up from this presentation, you can contact the payroll representative in the county clerk's office.
Quick question. For newbies maybe enrolling in the CERF savings plan, if they do not go into their Empower account and elect different stocks or holdings, does Empower just put them in a retirement model based on their age and years of service?
Yeah, so the question was, if you have someone that's newly signing up for the CERF savings plan and they don't elect their investment options, then yes, CERF will do that on their behalf. And honestly, it's very conservative. And so if you're in that very conservative pool, great. If you're thinking, I can have a little bit higher risk tolerance, then that's when you need to contact the representative. Or there's a lot of things that you can do in the portal online to move and align investments. But there's a whole tool on aligning your investments on what makes sense for individuals. I would highly really recommend a consult, because they're really going to really dig into deep what it is you need and how it should be structured. Okay. Other questions? Okay, again, the PowerPoint will be posted, and I appreciate your attention this morning.